I'll make this lecture super easy. Click the subscribe button below and watch this unique lecture for free. Bronsted acid-base concept. What is a conjugate acid-base pairs? Strengths of conjugate acid-base pairs. What is auto-ionization of a substance or self-ionization of a substance? Amphiprotic species. Let us start with Bronsted-Lowry concept of acids and bases. This concept only involves the transfer of proton. According to this Bronsted-Lowry concept, acid is a proton donor. What is acid? Acid is a proton donor. Don't forget it. According to Bronsted-Lowry concept, base is a proton acceptor. Let me repeat it. Base is a proton acceptor. Look example. Water reacts with hydrochloric acid and finally it forms hydrogen ion and chloride ion. In this reaction, water is a base because it accepts proton. HCl is an acid because it donates proton. To be an acid, a substance must contain at least one hydrogen atom. But not every compound with hydrogen is an acid. Example, methane, it doesn't give proton, so it's not an acid. Water is a base. I told you that one. To be a base, a substance must contain at least one lone pair electrons. And this one is hydrogen ion, and this one is chloride ion. Now let us look closely conjugate acid-base pairs. Every Bronsted-Lowry acid has a conjugated base. Let me repeat it. Every Bronsted-Lowry acid has a conjugated base. Every Bronsted-Lowry base has its own conjugated acid. One more. Every Bronsted-Lowry base has its conjugated acid. When a Bronsted-Lowry acid donates a proton, it becomes its conjugated base. When a base accepts a proton, it becomes its conjugated acid. When a base accepts a proton, it becomes its conjugated acid. Here is an example. HCl reacts with water. Finally, it forms hydrogen ion and chloride ion. In this reaction, HCl is an acid because it donates a proton and form chloride ion. This chloride ion is a conjugated base of HCl. But when you come to water, water is a base because it accepts a proton that came from HCl and form what? Hydrogen ion. This hydrogen ion is a conjugated acid of what? Water. So HCl is acid and its conjugated base is chloride ion. Water is a base, its conjugated ion is hydrogen ion. Now let us closely discuss, look, the strengths of conjugated acid-base pairs. The strengths of a conjugate acid-base pairs is inversely related. Look, a strong acid has a weak conjugated base and a weak acid has a strong conjugated base. Let me repeat it. A strong acid has a weak conjugated base. A weak acid has a strong conjugated base. Here is an example. It is a strong acid and this conjugated base is chloride, which is a very weak conjugated base. Now let me talk about base. A strong base has a weak conjugated acid and a weak base has a strong conjugated acid. I repeat, A strong base has a weak conjugated acid. A weak base has a strong conjugated acid. Example, ammonia is a weak base and its conjugated acid is ammonium ion, which is very strong conjugated acid. Look this diagram. When you move bottom to top, the strength of acid increase, and when we move down from top to bottom, the strength of base increase. A reaction proceeds in the direction from a strong acid base pair to weak acid base pair. Here is example. HCl, which is strong acid, hydroxide, which is strong base. They react together. Finally, they produce water and chloride ion. Water is weak acid and chloride ion is weak base. Strong acid base pair react together. Finally, they produce weak acid base pair. A proton transfer reactions favors the formation of a weak acid base pair, just as we have seen above. Auto-ionization or self-ionization is the process in which two identical molecules react with each other, and finally they form anions, namely cation and anions. Here is example. Water react with itself water. Finally, it form hydrogen ion and hydroxide ions. In this reaction, one water molecule acts as a base, a proton acceptor, and the other water molecule acts as an acid, a proton donor. One water molecule acts as an acid, a proton donor, and the other water molecules act as a base and a proton acceptor. Let me add one more example. Ammonia react with itself, ammonia. Finally, it forms ammonium ion and amine. In this reaction, one ammonia molecule acts as an acid and or a proton donor. The other ammonia molecule acts as a base, a proton acceptor. The third example, hydrogen fluoride reacts with another hydrogen fluoride to form dihydrogen fluoride ions plus fluoride ions. In this reaction, one hydrogen fluoride acts as a proton donor, while the other hydrogen fluoride acts as a proton acceptor. Or one hydrogen acts as an acid and the other hydrogen acts as a base. A substance ionized by reacting with itself, we call it self-ionization or auto-ionization. The last topics, amphiprotic species, is a substance that can both donate and accept a proton, is called amphiprotic species. A substance that can both donate and accept a proton is called amphiprotic species. It plays a dual role. Sometimes an acid, another time a base, depending upon what they react with. Here is example. Water dissociate, finally it forms hydroxide ion and hydrogen ion. In this reaction, water is an acid because it donates hydrogen ion. Now look the second example. Hydrogen ion react with water. Finally, it forms hydronium ion. Here, hydronium ion is, in this case, water is a base because it accepts a proton. Another example, hydrogen sulfide ion, hydrogen bisulfite are example of amphiprotic species.